the plan insofar as you knew it, and I recognize that you have to be careful here, the plan was to minimize civilian casualties, that we aren't talking about bombing designed to terrorize the civilian population.
That would be incredible for American way to pursue war. On the other hand, there is great terror that comes with war. And if one finds an important target that has a key communications node, a key area where communications come together, and it happens to be in an area where civilians live, it would still be important, I believe, for the United States to take that out.
I hate to interrupt you, General, but there are air raid sirens in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. That is the largest U.S. base. We're going to go to Bob Simon in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. Bob?
Dan, I don't know how good this audio is, but the siren started about 30 seconds ago, and we don't know what it means. We don't know if it means anything. People have been very nervous here all day, and of course nerves have gone up enormously in the last half hour. The Americans have been saying from the very start and have reinforced over the last couple of days that they do expect Saddam Hussein to try and send something down here, perhaps in the way of Scud missiles, perhaps even some aircraft. People around the hotel we've been staying have been walking around with their gas masks all day, and this is hardly a surprise. This was expected. It might mean nothing. It might mean that somebody knows that something is on the way. Dan?
Bob, are the air raid sirens still sounding?
The air raid sirens are sounding, and another siren has just begun. I believe that is a siren for people in the hotel to go down to a shelter.
Let's, just for 1 second then, Bob, keep an open microphone. Perhaps we've lost our audio. Let's keep an open microphone and listen to that noise for just a moment, that sound. The sound of war in Saudi Arabia as air raid warnings are sounding around the largest American base, military base in Saudi Arabia, around Dhahran. Now, if you want to look at the map, as a matter of fact, Bob Schieffer, we can go to you very quickly. You can show us, you and General Christ, roughly where Dhahran is, if you're prepared to do so. Dhahran is right there. Would you point again, General, if you don't mind?
Right.
Well, that's Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. You see the Persian Gulf, Kuwait above it, and you see where Dhahran is. That's where Bob Simon was a moment ago, and where he says that they're going into bomb shelters in Dhahran. Bob Simon has just left his broadcasting place to head for one of the shelters. Now, we have lost our signal to Dhahran. Perhaps you saw a flash up on the screen there. We no longer have a signal to Dhahran. Now, in the spirit of what we know and what we don't know, we do not know that there's an airstrike underway against American forces in Dhahran. What we do know is that U.S. forces have launched airstrikes against Iraq and Kuwait, both by manned aircraft and, we believe, by unmanned cruise-style missiles. Air raid signals sounded around Dhahran, as you heard Bob Simon report. Then everybody was told to head for the shelters. Whether there's an attack or whether it was simply an alert, we do not know. Now, you heard Bob Simon talk about the so-called Scud missile. The Scud missile is the best that the Iraqis have. It has the reputation of, one, having fairly short range, but enough range to reach targets in Saudi Arabia, including Dhahran. It has the reputation of being a very inaccurate missile. Now there are air raid sirens in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Now we want to go to the map and show you where Riyadh is. If we can get the map up, we try to keep you posted on the map where things are happening. Riyadh is the capital of Saudi Arabia. Again, people are moving to the air raid shelters there. On the map, you can see Riyadh is more in the center of the country, the major cities in Saudi Arabia that for the moment you want to have in mind. Dhahran, where the big U.S. base is over near the Persian Gulf. Riyadh in more or less the middle part of Saudi Arabia. And then Jeddah, which is over on the Red Sea, which is far away from Iraq and not under what we might call ordinary combat circumstances reachable by the Iraqi missiles. Now, again, underscoring, we do not know whether Dhahran or Riyadh is actually under attack. We do know that air raid signals have gone off in both places, and people have moved to the shelters. Now, we believe we can hear the air raid sirens sounding in Dhahran, so let's pause and listen to the sounds of war. This is from Riyadh. These are the sounds of Riyadh as war begins in the Middle East. air raid sirens in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia. As you look at the map, you could tell Riyadh is, I emphasize, is the capital of Saudi Arabia. Jeddah is its biggest commercial city, which is on the Red Sea. As you looked at the map, Jeddah would be off to the left, off to the west, and Dhahran would be off to the east. Now, trying to bring you up to date very quickly on what we know and what we don't know. War in the Middle East, combat around the Persian Gulf, offensive strikes by the U.S. Air Force, by, we believe, U.S. Navy and Marine aircraft as well, although we do not know about the latter. The only thing that's been officially announced by any military spokesman is the engagement of U.S. F-15E fighter bombers, those aircraft designed to knock out Iraqi planes from the sky if necessary, and also capable of attacking targets on the ground. David Martin at the Pentagon has reported that his information is that U.S. cruise-style missiles, known as Tomahawks, the particular style of cruise missile being used in this instance, also have been launched against targets in Iraq and possibly also in Kuwait. We do not know the extent of the attacks in Iraq and Kuwait. What we do know is that the raids have been underway for about 2 hours now. Our most reliable information from U.S. military sources, this was official information, is that the raids began about 4:50 this afternoon Eastern Time. We had some indication of them as we began the CBS Evening News at 6:30 this evening Eastern Time, and then as the evening news developed, it became clear that the air war had begun. I want to pause and again emphasize, and particularly for those of you who are just now joining our coverage, so far as can be determined, the air war has started. No offensive action on the ground that anyone can determine. The sequence of events that happened today, in no particular order, there were reports that Saddam Hussein was making efforts to move his chemical warfare machinery closer to U.S. forces in Saudi Arabia. Quickly behind that came an even more heightened alert for U.S. forces in and around Saudi Arabia and the Persian Gulf. And then there was silence, as there frequently is just before an offensive attack. And then the United States attacked targets in Iraq and in Kuwait using manned aircraft. We say manned aircraft. It's easy when you put up a picture, as we did, of that F-15E, to think of it as a highly sophisticated piece of technological weaponry, and that it is. But in the cockpit is a young man, average age 22, 23 years old, who just a few short years ago was quarterbacking his high school football team, or maybe looking for a jump shot at the top of the key. There are people, there are men in those aircraft. Yes, there are women who fly in the U.S. military, but by law, women are not allowed to be in combat units, so there'll be no women in the cockpits of these particular airplanes. Now, we want to go to Tom Fenton in Israel. Tom Fenton by telephone from Israel. Tom, any sign of activity, special activity there, and what do you hear, what do you know?
Well, no sign of special activity yet, although one of Israeli radio monitors said that he cannot find Baghdad radio, so presumably it's off the air. But earlier this evening, Prime Minister Shamir indicated that the United States has apparently dropped its reluctance to coordinate its air battle plans with Israel. Shamir said on television that there's some sort of an agreement with the United States and that Israel was maintaining contact. Now, Saddam Hussein, as you know, has threatened to hit Israel if he's attacked, and presumably he would hit Israel with chemical weapons. The Israelis have made it clear that they would retaliate and would not just let the U.S. Air Force do the job of taking out the missiles. So there was a great deal of worry that Israeli planes and American planes would be in the air at the same time, and perhaps American pilots and Israeli pilots might shoot each other down. The agreement, if there